Hi, I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Wrestling, where I review wrestling related things all from the perspective of a fan, not an insider. So this week, I'm going to be reviewing another docuseries. This one has 2 seasons so far, 5 episodes each. And this week I'm going to get season 1. In the future, I'll do season 2. The docuseries from WWE are currently available on Peacock. Ruthless Aggression. About the Ruthless Aggression era. Episode 1, it's time to shake things up. If you saw the docuseries The Monday Night War, this kind of picks up where that left off. The Monday Night War is over, WWE has won, WCW is gone, and they started with doing an invasion angle with WCW versus WWE, but it didn't go as well as they had hoped, which there were a lot of reasons for it. Some people just blame WWE and the way they booked it, saying that they were just trying to make themselves look strong by making WCW look weak. Some people say that's not what it was. They didn't have the right talent. I think it was more the talent thing. When WCW ended, there were a lot of wrestlers who were contracted strictly by WCW, and WWE absorbed their contracts. But the biggest stars, like the NWO guys, Hall and Nash, Hulk Hogan, or even guys like Goldberg, their contracts were not through WCW, they were through AOL Time Warner. So they did not absorb those contracts. And later, people constantly complain, well, they should have just bought those contracts out, those ridiculously high contracts. WWE should have just bought them out. They would have made their money back. Well, number one, that was a gamble. And number two, who says anyone would have taken the buyout? Kevin Nash talked about it at one point, that he was going to make another $2 million for a couple of years to sit at home and do nothing. Versus if Vince McMahon had come along and offered to match or maybe even up it a little bit, there's still that concept of make some more money to go on the road or still make a bunch of money to sit at home. So it took a couple years to get the bigger stars. It's one thing I can't help but defend WWE about. If you remember the invasion angle, the 2 biggest stars they got were Buff Bagwell and Booker T. And let's face it, Buff Bagwell was never that big a star. Booker T, in my opinion, wasn't on the same level as guys like The Rock and Steve Austin, even though they put him against guys like The Rock and Steve Austin. Because, as much as I hate to say it, because I love Booker T, big fan of Booker T, winning the WCW title when he did just didn't mean that much. At one point in time, winning the WCW title was like on the level of winning the WWF title. At that point in time, because of all that had happened, people they had given it to, it basically had gotten taken down to that puts you on par with the guy who has the Intercontinental title in WWE. But it goes into how WWE had a developmental system. They had OVW, an independent wrestling promotion. They contracted to train their stars. Basically, they gave them the talent. They said train them. And when that talent got to the point that they felt they could do something with them, they brought them up to WWE. But then finally, those big stars from WCW, their contracts are finally up. They are now free agents to negotiate with WWF. But the top guys coming in, guys like Hogan, Nash, eventually Goldberg, wasn't really doing that much, helping a little, but not really. Things were still getting stagnant, getting boring. So it talked about the first draft when they did the brand split, Raw versus SmackDown, which helped spice things up a little bit, because with no competition, Vince McMahon decided, I'm going to create my own competition. But it also went into Stone Cold getting frustrated with the way things were going for him and leaving, and them not having a top guy. And of course inspired by a bunch of guys in the back complaining that they should be the top guy, they should be the top guy. The guys at the top saying, well, you need to get out there and show me that you want it. They came up with the idea of first changing their name from WWF to WWE, which I will say in the docuseries, I think that was kind of funny that they made it seem like they did that just because they didn't want to be WWF anymore. They did that to get the World Wildlife Fund off their backs. But they became World Wrestling Entertainment versus World Wrestling Federation. They even had the whole thing of get the F out, which I will admit was a good slogan. And the first episode ends with Vince McMahon's Ruthless Aggression speech, where he said what he wants is ruthless aggression. He wants the next top guy to get some ruthless aggression and show him that he's the next top guy. So basically the first episode goes into what led to the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era. The second episode, enter John Cena, which is the story of the guy who became the top guy in the company for a very long time, John Cena. It's the story of John Cena, how he was an OVW, but then he came out during an episode of SmackDown when Kurt Angle was wanting somebody to show him some ruthless aggression. So how he got a great debut, impressed everybody, but then kind of fizzled out. What I like about this is it shows why John Cena is one of the top guys. Whereas most guys, if they had a great debut like that and fizzled out, they'd blame the company. John Cena blamed himself. He said, I was given a great debut, I was given great momentum, and I dropped the ball. But as he's struggling just trying to keep himself in the roster, they get the idea of just something he used to do backstage, goofing around, freestyle on rhyming and stuff, to create a character, the Doctor of Thugonomics, which was a great idea. Because I remember when that character debuted, I still didn't think that this guy was going to be the next top guy, but I remember just going like, well, that's funny, that's entertaining, I like this. And it goes on into how that character changed things for him, gave him momentum on into winning the United States Championship, where he gave us that god-awful United States title spinner belt. But then it goes into how he just kept rising more and more and more, until finally WrestleMania 21, he becomes the WWE Champion. And changes it into that god-awful spinner championship. Which I will say, as much as I like John Cena, I'm angry at you for that, because that thing stayed around way too long. However, despite the belt and the garbage that it was, no denying that I respect John Cena and everything he did for wrestling. He did pick up the ball, he did run with it, and he was the top guy for the longest time. Basically until he decided to step down to part-time because, he's getting older. And we're now waiting for the next top guy. Episode 3, Evolution. The story of, in my opinion, the faction that kind of defines the Ruthless Aggression era. And in my opinion, one of the best factions that ever existed. Especially because it just made sense. You had Ric Flair, who was the past, Triple H, who was the present, and you had Randy Orton and Batista, who were the future. Although it said Batista was just the enforcer, but they were the future of the company. It was a great idea, a great faction. And this is the story of how it came about. How Ric Flair had come over from WCW, and because of the way they had used him, he had no confidence in WWE. He faked it while he was in the ring, but everybody could tell that this guy was a shell of his former self. He played Ric Flair. He did not feel like Ric Flair. And Randy Orton, at the time, a hot young prospect in WWE, they tried to make him a babyface. Nobody was accepting it. So they tried making him a heel, but still, he was just floundering. He wasn't really doing much. And they had Batista, who they brought in to be Deacon Batista, which was stupid. But Triple H coming up with an idea that would help not only him stay relevant, but help his hero Ric Flair get his confidence back and help elevate the future stars. He got Ric Flair with the idea of forming a faction sort of like the Four Horsemen, but their own spin on it. And they recruited Randy Orton and Batista, but first warning them that if this works, people are going to hate you. You can make friends or you can make money. They both were like, whatever. And it goes into the Dudley Boys incident. Well, both Randy Orton and Batista got injured, and to this day, they're still discussing whether or not they think the Dudleys did it on purpose, or whether it was just a bad day at the office. The Dudleys insist it was just a bad day at the office, especially considering that Bubba Ray Dudley got injured in that match too. My personal belief on it is just knowing the way the Dudley Boys are, they weren't going to get jealous and care about these guys being in a faction. They wouldn't have wanted to be in a faction. They're the kind of guys that just like being in their own tag team. But because of Batista being hurt and being out, Mark Jindrak almost replaced Batista. They were working towards it, but Triple H and Ric Flair just agreeing this guy is just not mature enough for this. So Batista finally comes back from injury, and Evolution finally takes off. And it goes into how it did elevate them. Like, one thing it didn't mention that I always thought was great about Evolution, at one point, on Raw, they had all the championships. With Triple H being the World Heavyweight Champion, Randy Orton being the Intercontinental Champion, and Batista and Ric Flair being the Tag Team Champions. Basically, it was like they were running Raw. But elevating to the point that Randy Orton became the champion, and they immediately turned on him. And then it kind of went into how he floundered for a little bit because they tried to make him a babyface, and people just weren't accepting it. And then it goes into some time later, Batista doing the turn. How he won the Royal Rumble, had the right to choose to go to SmackDown, face JBL for the WWE Championship, or stay on Raw and face Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. And the whole storyline of them basically trying to trick Batista into going to SmackDown, saying he was a big dumb idiot who would do what they say, but he heard them, and he turned on Triple H, and at WrestleMania 21 became the World Heavyweight Champion for the first time. And it worked out as both Batista and Randy Orton became two of the biggest stars in the industry. Looking back at Evolution, though, I will say it was one of the best factions for this reason. It fulfilled its purpose, and it left before it overstayed its welcome. Some just stay around way too long. Episode 4, The Next Big Thing. Talking about the story of Brock Lesnar. Now, I know this is touchy. WWE's basically trying to erase him from memory right now because of the scandals and stuff going on. So some of you may be like already like, whoa, you're going to talk about Brock Lesnar? Don't worry, I've got nothing good to say about the guy. I do not like Brock Lesnar. I never have liked Brock Lesnar. I didn't even like him in his heyday in the Ruthless Aggression era, which is why I personally did not like this episode. And if you're like me and you're not a Brock Lesnar fan, if you watch this docuseries, skip this episode. Because it's basically just an entire episode of them kissing Brock Lesnar's ass. About how he came in, was the next big thing, was so dominant, and then left, and even goes into his return, and how he came back so dominant, and how we basically just tossed him every little accolade he could ever want, even though he was only there once in a while. Because that is the thing. They made the guy look stronger than he was. Don't get me wrong, Brock Lesnar's a strong freak of nature, but they made him look unbeatable, and he's not. We saw that by his UFC record. Because ultimately, Brock Lesnar's first run in WWE and afterward is the biggest reason I can't stand Brock Lesnar. Because they completely skipped over how after WWE, he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, they awarded him their title, and then he refused to ever defend it again. Basically, Brock Lesnar pissed all over the industry that made him a name. As much as he was successful in UFC, if it wasn't for WWE, if it wasn't for wrestling, he would have had to start from the bottom. Instead, he got to go make a big debut in MMA after winning one fight somewhere else, gets to go to the UFC with all this fanfare, and immediately go to the top. It wouldn't have worked that way had he not already made a name for himself in wrestling. And how did he appreciate wrestling and the fans? By basically insulting us over and over again. Now on to the 5th episode, Civil War. Finally going into the story of Raw versus SmackDown. Basically where episode 1 left off of how WWE had just gotten complacent. They had no competition. They needed it. But since they didn't have it, because soon after WCW ended, TNA came around, but let's face it, they were never real competition for WWE. At one point later, way later, like 2006, 7-ish, they started becoming a blip on the radar, but never were big competition for WWE. TNA was competition to WWE in the same way that John's Burgers is competition to McDonald's. But when they split Raw and SmackDown at first, it was whoever was the WWE champion went to both shows until Brock Lesnar became exclusively SmackDown as the champion. At that point, WWE had brought in Eric Bischoff to be the general manager of Raw, which a lot of people were angry about. To me, it made sense. And he brought back the World Heavyweight Championship. They had the Intercontinental title on Raw. They had the United States Championship on SmackDown. They had their own tag team titles. Basically, they were being treated as two separate companies. And how it was real competition, because at first they kind of looked at SmackDown as the B show, until SmackDown actually started rising in the ratings, occasionally beating Raw, which I kind of have to give to Paul Heyman, because people can say what they want about Paul Heyman, but as a promoter, he was very good at understanding that rather than focusing on your established talent, you use your established talent to get the next guys over. The guys like Eddie Guerrero, who became one of the biggest stars on SmackDown. Not only did it go on the rise of Eddie Guerrero, but JBL. And it went on to how Raw was elevating the women's division to the point that Lita and Trish had the first ever women's match main event, which at the time was a big deal. Now it happens all the time. And the ladies can thank Trish and Lita for that. Basically, the competition led to a kick in the pants on both rosters, Raw and SmackDown, to the point that it elevated the new stars. And that's how we got the Ruthless Aggression era. So there you have it. That is Season 1 of the Ruthless Aggression era, which had a nice narration by Michael Rappaport. Here's the funny thing. This, to me, was kind of in the same vein and feel of the Monday Night Wars docuseries, but I actually enjoyed this more than the Monday Night Wars docuseries, just because the Monday Night Wars one, the first 3 episodes went into the story of the Monday Night Wars, and then everything else was just filler of what happened during the Monday Night Wars. This one, the first episode, it basically gave you the beginning of the story, but then giving you the stuff that created the Ruthless Aggression era, made it interesting to watch. I wouldn't say as interesting the Monday Night Wars, but interesting. It gave some great backstory, like the formation of Evolution, John Cena's rise to being the top guy in the company, and one of the biggest stars ever. It's a great first part of the docuseries, and I will get to the second season, and I will get in the next season soon. Until then, if you have not seen the Ruthless Aggression era docuseries, it's on Peacock. I recommend you check it out. So there you have it. That's my wrestling review this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the Ruthless Aggression era docuseries. Tell me what you thought of the Ruthless Aggression era. Love you guys.